Steve Jackson Games is releasing a sort of revised basic set for GURPS 4th edition. So I have my basic set for GURPS 4th edition right here. I also have the Powers book with me, and I'm going to use these two books to do something I've wanted to do for quite a long time, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a pretty large revision myself. I don't think Steve Jackson is going to make this sort of change themselves. I think they've already said they weren't going to dramatically change or update the game, but really their goal is to just republish and update with all of the errata and new material that's come out. I'm compiling a list of sensory traits so I can combine all of them into one big sensory advantage in the GURPS role-playing system. If you're not familiar with GURPS, GURPS is a role-playing game that allows you to play pretty much anything you want in whatever genre you and your table decide to play in. And you build up your characters or create monsters or whatever it is from a series of traits that cost points, character points. And my purpose here is to take a number of those different features and say, why are these all different, or can they all fit into one more coherent framework, and then just use that trait to represent all, if a particular type of species has echolocation, or if a superhero can see through walls and hear through walls and smell through walls. Right? Smelling through walls is not really a thing you can do in GURPS right now, because there's, again, we treat all of the senses differently, and I think there's some opportunity here to generalize it even further, make the generic universal role-playing system even a little bit more generic in its construction. It's 10 per level. So this one's going to be interesting because, like with all these different senses, one of the things we want to be thinking about is think about barriers to that sensory input. Right? So that's one of our, let's just write this down. So some of our key features. Okay. So we're going to have barriers. We're going to have to work with specificity, the range of the ability, let's leave the let's go ahead and leave it there. So I get specificity. This is a specificity of detail, or level of detail. Let's just write that down. Level of detail. By range, I mean distance. Okay, so what blocks this? What blocks receiving information from a source? At what distance does it work? And what's the level of detail you can get from it? Okay. All right, let's move on. So I was at penetrating vision. There we go. All right, then we have peripheral vision. Worth 15. That's another thing we'll need to worry about is the sensory arc. Okay, so this is direction. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with things like absolute timing and absolute direction. Right now I feel like I'm going to throw them out just because I want to focus more on things that are more about receiving information or receiving stimulus from the outside world. So when I come to something like enhanced time sense as well, that's not really about receiving sensory input. It's not more about building more awareness of the world. It's just having more time to process it, more sort of internal subjective time to process it. Telecommunication is interesting because, in a way, you have to be able to detect. It's part of it. Telecommunication is about being a receiver. I'm going to include it. All right, and where that comes in is one: is there something between you and the sender? At what distance can you detect a clear? Can you sort out a clear detail? Do you have enough detail to be able to pick up words, images, other data? Um, a lot of some telecommunication options are very direction dependent. Are you facing the sender? And again, is it passive or is it active? Are you sending these signals out to receive information about the world, or are you just passively listening? So telecommunication is probably not one that you expected to see on this list, but here it is. Enhanced tracking was another interesting one that I considered. I wrote it down, but it's more about targeting than it is about sensing. Okay, so this is all of our advantages. Okay, we still need to reckon with what happens when you remove some capabilities that your default human already has. So these are just the advantages. I haven't even gotten to the disadvantages yet. This is a long list. I might have to turn the page over. I want to keep it all on one page though. I think I've taken up too much space. Okay, well let's just put a line here and move on. Acute vision, acute hearing, acute smell and taste, I think should really just be modifiers of the perception advantage, and that's something that I can draft out real quick as well. I'll do that in another shorter video. Because here there's like the level of detail, you have a spatial sense, and then you have information about the object, right? So this is interesting. So we have, for example, one eye as a disadvantage. This is an interesting disadvantage, and one of the interesting quirks with GURPS is that one eye is really a combination of disadvantages. By the way, can we just enjoy this picture here real quick? Where we're capturing both one hand and one eye in one picture. You suffer -1 to dexterity in combat and on any task involving hand-eye coordination. -3 on ranged attacks. And then some cultures regard those missing an eye as unattractive. We have lack of depth perception and appearance wrapped into this one disadvantage, rather than treating the one eye condition as two separate disadvantages, which is how I would actually prefer to approach it. I would like to have one eye listed as an option, to have one eye maybe give some flavor text like it does, and then say, this is the no depth perception and may include a drop in appearance level, or -1 to reaction, or something like that. No depth perception is you cannot visually judge distances. Dim effects are identical to one eye. You may not take both. right? So there it is. So instead of no depth perception being a consequence of having one eye, depth perception is treated like having one eye. Just make the value. Okay. I think this is it. These are our key features, and we can start with the detect advantage and start manipulating it from there. So that'll be it for this video. Thanks for being here with me on this really nerdy pursuit and trying to what am I trying to do? I'm trying to make GURPS my own. I think GURPS is a very good system that allows for this kind of thinking. And if we're going to create a new advantage, I think we have an excellent way to take what GURPS has, like all of these traits, like we have a huge list here, and really condense them into one. GURPS has a lot of potential, and I mean an enormous amount of potential to become a much more simplified system. And I think there's lots of opportunity here, and I want to pick this one because it's a big one, right? There's so many things that affect how you take in information about the world and what you can do with it. So so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm having fun exploring the system, and I think GURPS can evolve into a much more streamlined, simpler system without losing any of its bite. All right, I've said that's enough times, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end now. Thanks for watching.